car is a 2018. Thank you to MS Motors for letting me use their car for this quick little review. It makes 603 horsepower, 627 foot-pounds of torque. Right now I have it in the full sport or race mode with the sport handling mode, which is, you know, everything's stiff. The steering's stiff, the suspension's stiff, the manual transmission, you can hit that to go full manual. The exhaust opens up, so you have the little pops and the bangs, and you know, it's a lot quieter. It's a lot more tamer though of a car when it comes to noise wise, until you really get into boost, let off the gas, it pops and it bangs. It also has drift mode, which is pretty sweet. So you can hold both paddles, which it is now. You hold down the brake, you hold both paddles of the car after you turn off traction control. Hold down traction control, it's all the way off. Make sure it's in manual mode. Then you hold down both paddles. Now it says drift mode confirmed, paddle up. Now we're in drift mode. So now let's see how the car handles. That was first, second, sideways. Drift mode is sick. And drift mode is, if you're not careful and you don't know how to drive, you will put a car like this into a wall, into a tree, into a pole easily. So I'm not gonna mess with drift mode too much today. Just did that quick launch, spinning through first and second. But it is something that you have to be very careful using in this car, because you know, you have to respect that the car's ability to do what it does, and it's a monster, to put it the easiest way to put it. The next thing about the paddles, when you're at a dead stop in race mode, turn off traction control all the way, and it goes completely to rear wheel drive, which is pretty awesome. I love the way the car puts the power down. It's instantaneous. That low end torque is just absolutely nuts. The way the car's power comes on, the way the power delivery happens, it's just, see, like this is third gear, just, that's nuts. That was third gear at 2,000 RPM, instantly boost up at around 2,400, and then it's just gone. One thing about this car that I noticed, I've driven it before, about an hour and 15 minutes or so. I was in traffic for about, hour 15 minutes, like dead stop traffic, 5 miles an hour, dead stop, stop and go, stop and go. The car is very rough. That's something that you have to get used to. The car is very rough in terms of the way that you daily the car, it's a little rough, but that was in traffic. Now that I'm in no traffic today, I've been driving around about an hour, no traffic at all, just city driving, some highway driving, some little freeway pulls. The car behaves amazingly. It's exactly what you would want out of a sedan. If you're looking for a sedan that's fast as heck, all-wheel drive, runs 11.2, 11.1, 11.2 in the quarter, 11.3, depending on conditions, let's say. 0 to 16, you know, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, that's what people are getting in the ranges, depending on, you know, like I said, you know, situation, driver, road conditions, etc., how hot it is outside, you know, turbo cars love running cold. But driving it around town today, I mean, this thing's been solid. I mean, if you're looking for a car, like I was saying, you're comparing cars like, you know, an M5, maybe even a E63S AMG, maybe even like a newer M4. This car's luxury inside doesn't even come close to those cars. Mercedes, the way that they're building their interiors, everything's high quality. You have extended leather here on the dash, you have extended leather on the door here. You have the nice buttons that when you actually touch them, they don't feel like they're plastic. And you know, the E-Class Mercedes, they have the full digital display readout, as opposed to their lower models like the C-Class and etc. They don't have those. They have like the smaller screen in the middle, analog cluster. Now some of the newer ones, I think they're going to switch over to some of the digital cluster displays, but they don't have this full huge display setup. This one also is packaged at around $134,000 is the MSRP on this car. Also has the Burmeister sound system, the brushed aluminum speakers on the side that give it like this high quality feel. The buttons feel good when you press them. Nothing feels cheap on the car. Everything feels solid, and it's a car that, like, if you're looking for the M5s, you're looking for a high horsepower four-door car that you can take to the track, you can destroy canyon roads with, and then throw your kid in the back or go to the drag strip and run 11.1, 11.2 and a quarter. And with the tune that they make on these, like the Rentec tune, putting out 750 horsepower, give or take, somewhere in that range. Last time I read, before this review, you're running a 10.8 quarter mile, trapping close to like a 129. Factory, these are trapping, I believe, around the 124 to 126 mark. So right now we're in sport mode. I'm just going to switch to comfort, just to kind of chill on the freeway. The car does have a lot of road noise, I feel like, and it is an AMG, so everything is a lot stiffer. Everything's a lot more commanding in terms of the steering wheel stiff, the suspension stiff just naturally. Even in the comfort mode, it eases up a little bit, but you still have that sports car feel, because this is a sports car that's a saloon car. That's a four-door car that's meant to go fast, that's meant to handle well. And the best part about this car, like the M5, you can go from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. You can have fun with the car and switch to rear and slide it around corners and, feel this different type of excitement that you wouldn't feel in some of these cars that are just constantly all-wheel drive. The Alcantara on the A-pillar and the B-pillar is a nice touch. It really gives that car and the entire roof, which is what's left of the roof, because the whole roof is actually panoramic with the sunroof. The fit and finish of this car is amazing. Now, there's some little things here that I'm noticing, like, that are a little faded quickly for such a newer car, but that could also be how the previous owner used this car, because this is a used car that is for sale at MS Motors. But overall, besides a couple little tiny nicks here, there's probably something minor from the old owner. It's nothing, you wouldn't even notice it unless you pointed it out. Overall, the fit and finish of the car is perfect. I'd give it like a 9 out of a 10. I'm sure if I sat a brand new one, it'd be a 10. So they really stepped their game up, and their keys are actually really nice too. They're just not like a regular key. They have weight to them. The keys look amazing too. They have the AMG logo. The key has some weight to it too, where, like, if you were to set this key down, it actually feels like an expensive key. It doesn't feel like, when you have a BMW, all the keys are the same. Like, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like this is a special key. This is a special car. And it has the 9-speed automatic transmission, and to my knowledge and research, it's not a double clutch transmission. So there is this pause of this automatic transmission kind of feeling. And you either like it or you don't. If you're an enthusiast and you want that double clutch rawness, then it's fine. There's no issues there. But if you're not an enthusiast, you're just a regular dude and you want a fast car and you want a Mercedes and you like the E63 AMG and you know enough about it, the horsepower, the specs, how they handle, what they run in the quarter, but that's kind of it, this is a great car. You're not going to notice that in the automatic transmission. But when you're like an enthusiast type of person like I am, that looks at cars as an art, and every single car has its own purpose. I can't never really pick one car over the other, because they all have different purposes based on the mood that you're in and what you're using, what kind of driving you're using it for. It's perfect. This car's perfect as a daily. I can see why it's an automatic 9-speed transmission. Some people are going to like that. Some people are not going to like that. It still has the downshift rev matches. They're just not as brutal as a double clutch trans, but they're there. You still can sense it and feel the rev matching on the downshift. It's just not as fast. Overall, this car is amazing. So right now we're in comfort. We're going to take this exit and we'll do a loop around. And I was driving it on some canyon roads before, and it just rips. And like, it's the power, the way it comes on is just instant. It just throws your head in the seat. The brakes are phenomenal. The car is still a very strong car in terms of like the road presence that it has. It's a strong road presence is what I was trying to say, where the all-wheel drive system really keeps it planted. But also, it's like, it keeps it planted, but it also, in terms of like when you're launching and you're getting on the throttle, you don't have to worry about the acid coming out. But it also, in corners, it keeps it planted. You can throw this thing into corners hard. We'll do like a little launch here. It doesn't have launch control. Oh, it does, I'm sorry. I couldn't get it to activate last time. 60. And then it just goes. And it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. It just doesn't stop. And that's what an AMG is right there. That's what AMG does that other cars can't do. It's that. It's the, I just drove comfortably. It could have been on a business call. I stopped. I threw it in launch control. I forgot this car has launch control because I couldn't get it to activate earlier, but it does. It must have been because something with the traction control or whatnot. Or these cars, that's the one thing about everything done electronically, is that sometimes the launch control has to be in a perfect scenario to work. Sometimes it just works when it wants to. So I haven't played with it enough to know, but that was launch control and it was amazing. And that's what this car does. You're in comfort mode, you're cruising, you're on a phone call, etc. Finished the call, I just stopped, did a launch control and ripped it, and had that great enthusiast driving feeling that you get from a car like this, which is why they made it. And I would own one of these cars for sure. Like if I wanted a car where I didn't have any other car, let's say, and I wanted a car where it was fast, it handled good, and it checked all the boxes, this would be the car. This car or the new M5, because they check all those boxes where it gives you everything that you want. The handling, the speed, the power, the 4 doors, the extra room, the comfortability, the drivability, the casualness of the car also when you want it to be. And then also it's all-wheel drive, so you can take it into the snow if you got stuck in a situation where you had to drive it in a snow situation, or a bad weather situation, or confidence in the rain even. So, downsides to the car, the rough aspect. The steering wheel is rough, but it's not like an S-Class. It's not meant to be that. So it's a downside when I just want to just cruise and be comfortable and just kind of have the ease of turning the steering wheel. Like, I don't get that, which is totally fine. In comfort mode, you would want that, but like when you have this, like, it's just too good. It's just too good of a car. And for the prices that they're going for now, this one right now with 45,000 miles, I believe, is for sale for $78,000. Two-owner car, clean Carfax, very clean car. Has the carbon rear diffusers, the rear wing. It has some carbon on the sides and the front. Like, this is the car that's a great car. This is something I would buy if I didn't buy my RS5 from Manny as well, from MS Motors. So overall, you can't beat it. There's certain downsides of the car, yes, but I mean, when you're buying a car like this, you're not necessarily looking for a car that's comfortable and floating like an S-Class or even a regular E-Class or any of these kind of cars where they're just, you know, or a 7 Series. You're not looking for that in this car. You know what this car is when you're buying it. And if you're thinking about buying one, I would buy one. If you're thinking about buying one and an M5 is on the list of this, go with the M5 or go with this. I haven't driven the new M5. I've ridden in the new M5. I'd love to drive the new M5, but I'd love to see where it sits with this car in terms of a side-by-side type of comparison. But right now, this car wins because the interior is what puts it over the top. BMW to me right now, they're still keeping the same interior. They're still kind of keeping the same look, and the technology's there, yes, but it just doesn't give you that feeling that this car does, that AMG does. And AMG, as you would know, if you're an enthusiast, and if you're not, then some background on AMG, they're one of the best Formula One teams ever. So many championships, the way they engineer their cars, they bring that F1 technology into these cars, and you can feel that F1 technology in these cars when you're driving them. Like, I just want to get around this guy, and just crazy. And you can feel that technology when you're driving these cars, and the way they handle, the way they respond. And then the heads-up display with the RPM gauge and the miles per hour is a nice touch too, because your eyes are always on the road. You never have to worry about anything. You're always constantly just focused on the road, and you're always aware of what's going on in the surroundings. And this car still breaks necks, don't get me wrong. Like, it's fast, it has everything, but the looks is underrated also. Like, this thing breaks necks. You're cruising down the road, it looks mean, it's wide, it has the stance, it has the wheel, it has the big factory brakes. I can't remember if this car is carbon ceramics or not. I'm gonna have to take a peek when we get out. I don't think it does. I think they're just steel brakes, but they're massively huge steel brakes. Like, this thing stops on a dime. So there's a lot of things to this car, looks-wise too. The way the outside is, the stance, the way how mean it looks with the rear diffuser, the spoiler, the quad exhaust coming out of the back, which is the signature AMG touch, the sound that the car makes too. It checks all the boxes. Yes, it's not a naturally aspirated V8, but I mean, your naturally aspirated V8 is not even going to be close to fast as this. So it doesn't have that crazy raw sound to it, but I think AMG did it better than anybody else could do it. when it comes to a V8 twin turbo, because it has the raw sound to the car. It has the raw sound and the drivability and everything that you'd want out of this car. So it has the crazy pops and the bangs that a car could have that was a naturally aspirated V8 like my RS5 that I just reviewed. So this is definitely something that it's harder to capture in video. It's more something that has to be experienced, but it has that driving emotion that you want, where it rips to, you know, almost 7,000 RPM, and it sounds crazy, and it pops and it bangs, and the way it puts the power down, it's just nuts. I was gonna launch it, but I was like, let's not launch it here since we're down the road back from the dealership. But all in all, if you're considering buying one, I would definitely buy one. There is some downsides like there is to every other car, but the fit and finish that you're gonna get for the quality of this car for a used price, I'm not saying go buy one new, I'm saying buy one used. Let somebody else take the depreciation on a car like this. I mean, this car, when it came out 3 years ago in 2018, this particular car, because it's a 2018, it was 134. The MSRP, 134, 139, I believe. But that was the MSRP. Now you can buy it at MS Motors for 78 grand, 45K miles on it, and it's solid. Nothing's gonna happen to this thing. These cars, the new Mercedes AMGs, are built strong in terms of like their motors and their overall powertrain. Now, electronic side, I'm not sure. There is some funky things I've noticed with electronic stuff in this car, where sometimes the navigation kind of tweaks out, sometimes it doesn't. That could just be me getting in and out of the car so much, starting it, not starting it, but it's the only kind of weird thing I've seen on this car. I mean, I don't know much about the car in terms of driving it every day to actually say that it's an issue or not right now, but just something that I noticed. But overall, it's an amazing car. And now that I'm coming to the end of this review, maybe you'll buy one, maybe you won't. Maybe it's something that you do want. Maybe it's something that you're looking into buying. But you won't be disappointed, that's for sure. And, you know, if you're buying a car just for comfortability, this isn't the car then. Like, if you want speed and some comfort and aggressiveness and be able to do all the things I mentioned in the video, then this is the car. A lot of people will just buy a car like this because they get sold on it and they're like, oh, I didn't really like it, because they're not using it for what it's meant for. So if you're using what this car is meant for, you're gonna love it. If you're not using this car for what it's meant for, you're just gonna think like, oh, why did I spend so much money? And you're not gonna see the value. So the value here is obviously the AMG, the brakes, the motor, the handling, the suspension, etc. That's where the value is. But overall, amazing car, and I had fun driving it. So